Still, it's
Oh,
getting too deep for me.
well, you know what? Luckily, we're going to be able to repeat it because I don't think that was on the air. So here we go. A gate made all of twigs with woven grass for hinges. For a lock, this snail. Isa. Um. So what do you think, Greg? That this a gate made all of twigs seems pretty fragile, wouldn't you say? If it's woven by grass. For
Yeah.
hinges, for a lock, this snail. Um, gosh,
Or
it's
maybe
a
they just
very
used what they had.
yeah. But see, I'm a little confused now with these haikus. Like, I don't understand if it's just an observation that they're making, or if it's a whole um different thing. If it's supposed to be like a philosophy type of saying that actually means something, they're trying to convey an idea, or are they just making a poem? I think that's what it is, right? They're just making a poem with this.
Yeah.
And
I
if
mean,
that and then that would make sense.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When they do haikus, there's no direct need for a meaning. It just has to be um, written a certain way. So
Yeah.
you can write about whatever you want. So it could be an idea, or it could just be something they saw, or it can just be a hidden message for something that has happened,
Yeah.
or just another way of saying something else.
Yeah. I think it's more like a poem trying to convey some sort of idea. Anyway, on today's episode, Greg and I, this is our first episode of Rabbit Hole. So, welcome everybody. Today, we're going to go dive into a rabbit hole. Today's topic, we decided to do the controversial life and death of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, if you've been living under a rock and you haven't seen or heard any news in the past couple of months, it's not that you're living under a rock. It's the fact that this story has been buried by the news, and it's something that came and went really, really quick. A lot of us were left wondering, well, what happened? I feel like I got whiplash from this, Greg. This happened so fast. I have like no idea what had
I
happened until it
I didn't
came and
know.
passed. Like
Yeah.
I saw a couple of podcasts that mentioned this, and then there was this Netflix documentary uh, called "Filthy Rich: The Life of Jeffrey Epstein." And so, okay, so let's start at the beginning. Well, who's Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein was born uh, January 20th, 1953. He was an American financier and sex offender. He began his professional life as a teacher, but then switched to the banking and finance sector in various roles, working at Bear Stearns. Well, not so important. He developed an elite social circle and procured many women, including underage girls, who were then sexually abused by Epstein and some of his contacts. Holy shit, Greg. So let's say that this is like the perfect beginning to any type of movie, right? Doesn't it sound like this is something you would hear in the movies?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Eyes Wide Shut with
I have
Tom
not seen
Cruise?
that.
No?
I don't believe so.
Dude, just just the definition, or not the definition, but the um this little bio that I just read.
Uh-huh.
If you read this bio and then you go in and watch Eyes Wide Shut, I mean, you think you'd be watching a movie, but this actually happened in real life. So Greg, you want to give a little bit of context of as to what happened with Jeffrey Epstein, in regards to who he was, and yeah, currently what just happened in late December.
In late December.
Oh, I mean late. I mean early August.
Oh, that's actually. Wait, hold on. That is weird. Because I saw that. Because you just changed it to August. I see that it said he died in August, but I swear.
I thought it was December.
Oh, no. Okay. That's what I got confused. He died in August, but he's apprehended July. Because I was going to say a year. It's been a year since he died almost.
Holy shit,
But it's
dude!
August 10th is when whatever happened to him happened to him.
I didn't realize it was just about to be a year.
Yeah. So
So
let's go back and talk about the early stages. So we're
okay,
jumping to the end.
yeah. Well,
So like
we're just giving
he
context of who this person was and how it came um, into light via news, and then as you know, as it seemed like it came and went at the same speed. Like we forgot about this, and I
yeah,
and I feel like it's important. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to be discussing. So let's get into his early life. Well, he's from New York. He's, let's see.
he was
Uh,
born in 1953 in New York City. Uh what is it? In a borough of Brooklyn. Um and he had his mom and dad there. His mom's name was Pauline and his dad's name was Seymour. Seymour's such an interesting name. You don't hear that name anymore.
right? Such an old
Mm.
school name. Yeah, so his dad worked at the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation as a groundskeeper, and his mom worked as a school aide. Um, and so he went to school like any other kid, and apparently he attended Mark Twain Junior High. He attended the National Music Camp, um, Inter Interlochen Center of Art. He began playing the piano when he was 5. He graduated in 1969 from Lafayette School. He skipped 2 grades at age 16. He attended classes at Cooper Union until he changed his colleges in 1971. And then he attended the Core Institute of Mathematical Sciences at New York City University, but left without receiving a degree. And that's important to note because later in his life, at the start of his career, he began as a teacher who was actually hired by Donald Barr, who is also the father of the U.S. Attorney General William Barr. And so he began a teaching career without receiving a degree.
Two
Now,
years after he stopped going to school.
uh huh. So, first of all, we have to wonder how a person can skip a couple grades and then, I mean, people said that that they were impressed by his intelligence and drive for financial success, but it's I mean, do you think that people have been able to bullshit their way into a job like that without like a teaching career, without being, without necessarily having the um, academic
I think during the
accreditations?
time, I think during the time he did it, it was easier. I think it would be much harder to do that now.
Uh
You'd
huh.
have to have some kind of someone who would overlook it. I think it's I think there's too many eyes on it now to be doable now.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely weird. I mean,
Because I mean, if he skipped 2 grades, that means he was probably pretty bright.
Like
I mean,
advanced.
which 2 grades did he skip?
It doesn't say.
Private school. Uh, you go ahead and keep going. I just want to find that.
Yeah. Anyway, so he began teaching. He was without accreditation from any type of school. Then he went into banking, where he joined Bear Stearns in 1976 as a low-level junior assistant to a floor trader. He swiftly moved up to an options trader, and then he began working on um, tax mitigation strategies with Edgar Brownman from Seagram. Um, it says that the bank's later chief executive officer praised Epstein's skill with wealthy clients and complex products. In 1980, 4 years after joining Bear Stearns, Epstein became a limited partner. So, I mean, I guess from what I can see, I think I could give that to him if he was that bright, and maybe he was a charismatic type of person.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody would have let him in, you know? Um,
Yeah. So what I was looking at with he's when he graduated high school, he was 16. So he most likely either skipped 7th and 8th grade and jumped into high school early.
mhm.
Because that's usually what happens. Like, you'll go to 6th grade and then you'll skip 7th and 8th and jump into high school. And
Perhaps, huh?
so yeah, so that may be one of the other things too. Towards the end of college, he was like, "All right, this is too easy. I need to move on." And was just he pieced out. So I mean, if you have the skills and you know what you're talking about, you
That's
could
true.
probably jump in and maybe someone did overlook it. You know what I mean? To get
Yeah,
his first teaching job, maybe he didn't need the credentials because no no one knew what he knew.
yeah, true. Yeah, he might have been a bright kid, huh? We really
Yep.
don't know. So after getting into financial consulting, um, well, look, man, already early in his career, he has been in contact with a lot of White House officials. Um, for instance, you have Douglas Lease, a defense contractor, and John Mitchell, the former U.S. Attorney General,
Mhm.
and that was in the 1980s. Um, yeah, you start seeing a lot of connections with government officials. In 1993, Epstein left the company. So right here they're talking about a Tower Financial Corporation imploded as one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in American history, losing its investors over 450 million. In court documents, Hoffenberg claimed that Epstein was intimately involved in the scheme. Epstein left the company by 1989 before it collapsed and was never charged for being involved with the massive investor fraud committed. Well, that's crazy. So already in 1993, he had seemed to be having um, influence and power,
Yeah.
don't you
They're
think?
starting to make the connections.
Yeah, there's so many names listed here that it would take us a whole episode just to mention all these names. And in
Yeah.
fact, this was a question I had, Greg. With all the research that I had done prior to this, like the Netflix special that came out, some podcasts, Reddit discussions, um, yeah, like a lot of the or news and media outlets, I never really heard them talk about many of the associations this guy had with different types of government officials. You know, it's always like, what do they say? Jeffrey Epstein, who partied with Donald Trump.
Yeah,
or he had he knew the prince of the UK or
and
whatever.
it's very interesting how there's talk about those people, but not talk about a lot of other people. Like
Do you
it's
think
very
it's
interesting to look.
clickbaity?
Yes and no. I think that they're choosing who they want to go for and not, because it's like Kevin Spacey was one of the people who he's already getting in trouble for sexual allegations. Bill
Yeah,
Clinton, he's gotten in trouble for sexual can't say the
allegations.
word allegations already.
Yep,
That's why he almost got was it wasn't impeached. What was the
indicted.
thing? Indicted, yeah. And like so many people that are on the list, I don't have the list in front of me at the moment. So many of them have sexual uh known sexual like issues.
Yeah,
So it seems like sure, maybe some people went and met the guy but didn't do anything. But it's highly unlikely. Like you don't continue to hang out with someone once you know what they do.
and but that's the other thing, right? Like that we have to see if people knew what was going on. How far back does this go? Um, I don't remember if it was like from the mid 1990s,
Mhm.
right? To
Well,
2003 when people started finding out. 2005 he got.
I mean, I don't know when his first case was, when he first got in trouble. I think it was 80, or no, I think it was 92.
Well, look. So let's go back. So he was part of financial consulting, Tower Financial Corporation, financial management firms. He did a little bit of media activities.
He wasn't
Um,
only part of consulting firm. He founded his own consulting
right.
firm,
Then he
which
went
is
into
huge.
liquid funding. Then he had investments where he did where uh, uh, apparently he made all his money was from hedge funds
Hmm.
investments. Um, and then there was an Israeli startup in 2015. The Israeli newspaper Haaretz reported that Epstein invested in the startup reporting Homeland Security, rebranded as Carbine in 2018. The startup is connected with Israel's defense industry. It is headed by former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who was also at one time the defense minister and chief of staff of the Israeli Defense Forces. Hmm.
Dude, this guy was not. This guy did not kill himself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Spoiler alert. Uh, yeah.
There's
So the
no.
first
There's.
criminal case. So this is what happened. So you have this person who seems to be very smart. He, as you can see, he went to school, didn't need to get a, I guess he dropped out, um, began teaching without an accreditation or certificate. And then he goes to Wall Street, where by his network of people that he started hanging out with, he was able to increase his net worth. You know, whether it was investments or starting his own firm or working for a consulting firm before he started his own, he made a lot of money. And um, already you can see that, we already named so many people that work in the government. Um, and then so his and then we find out that in 2005 and 2006 he had his first criminal case against him. In March 2005, a woman contacted Florida's Palm Beach Police Department and alleged that her 14-year-old stepdaughter had been taken to Epstein's mansion by an older girl. There, she was allegedly paid $300 to strip and massage Epstein. She had allegedly undressed but left the encounter wearing her underwear. So then Palm Beach police began a 13-month undercover investigation. um, which was leading up to in May, Palm Beach police filed a probable cause affidavit saying that Epstein should be charged with 4 counts of unlawful sex with minors and 1 count of sexual abuse. Um, let's see. Wow,
So,
there was
man,
a there was a non-prosecution agreement
yeah.
that the FBI began its own investigation of Epstein, nicknamed Operation Leap Year. So it resulted
And
in a 53-page indictment in June 2007 with Alexander Acosta, then the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, agreed to plea deal with Alan Dershowitz, who helped negotiate.
what it seems like from what I'm reading here too about his time working for governments,
Uh huh.
he worked with Saudi Arabian businessmen. Um, he was a middleman to transfer American weapons from Israel to Iran as part of the Iran Contra affair in the 1980s.
Uh huh.
Like it almost seems like he worked for the world almost. Like it seems like let's just say he worked for the governments, and and then at a certain point, it seems maybe he did it the whole time, but it seems like he started getting out of control. Like what he did in his personal life, they may have known, but it never came out to the light of day.
Well, before we get there, it should be said that first it started that it was at his mansion in Palm Beach, right, Greg? And then um, and then it turned out that there was a private island called nicknamed Little Saint James in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and so then we find out that he has his own. Was it 707 or 747, Greg? But it's a commercial size airplane,
I don't know. It's like exactly.
and it's called the Lolita Express. And then later we find out that you know we find out that there were a lot of scientists, a lot of government officials, including former President Bill Clinton. We find that many celebrities visited the island. And in fact, I think Greg might have the flight logs in front of you, right, Greg?
Yeah, it's 70. Let me find it. It's one of these says 73 pages of flight logs.
73 pages.
Yeah. It, it's not. It's almost not even readable because what they do is it's like
It's like a
it's a whole
copy of a
log.
copy.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like when you look at it, you see lettering, you see like the repeated things. So like you see JE. So I'm assuming JE would be Jeffrey Epstein,
Yeah.
and then you'll see like GM. So probably Ghislaine Maxwell. Um,
Gillian Maxwell. Yeah.
you see like IE. I don't know who that would be. But then you'll see like full names like Bill Clinton or Oliver Sacks or um, who else? There's so many names.
So let it be known that Jeffrey was running this giant operation allegedly, and he obviously couldn't do it himself. He had a gal named Ghislaine Maxwell, and Ghislaine, they first met. They started dating, um, and then they maintained a close relationship. Um, and that's who, yeah, Greg was just saying who flew with him quite a lot to Little James Island. It says here that Maxwell first met American financier Jeffrey Epstein in the early 1980s at a New York party following a difficult breakup with Count Gianfranco Cincogna of the Sika Hotels clan. Maxwell had a romantic relationship with Epstein for several years in the early 1990s and remained closely associated with him for decades afterwards. The nature of their relationship remains unclear. In a 2009 deposition, several of Epstein's household employees testified that Epstein referred to her as his main girlfriend, who also hired, fired, and supervised his staff starting around 1992. Most girls refer to her as Lady of the House by Epstein's staff and his aggressive assistant. Um, so this lady also seems to be okay. First of all, Greg, what do you think? What the fuck, right?
Dude,
What is happening? Like th-
I
this
just
very smart guy. I mean, if he was so smart, what the fuck was he doing, right?
yeah.
Um,
But I mean,
he
it's at
gets it.
that point though. Like even just like looking at this, it's like he's almost getting more and more comfortable in the sense of he thinks he can do whatever he wants. I saw another person who went to his island, Stephen Hawking. What? Stephen Hawking? No. Woody
What?
Allen, Prince Andrew. Man, dude. Trump, Clinton. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, it just seems like he he I don't know. It's very confusing. I don't know if he necessarily was like can't say the word procuring underage girls for all these people or any of that. I think it was it definitely was something he liked, and maybe he shared his experiences with people he knew, but I don't think that's how he was necessarily like making his money or like the main thing on his mind, you know?
So, if you don't already know, this little St. James Island had 24/7 surveillance. Some of the girls claimed that there were cameras in every room. Um, you know, Greg, do you think it's possible that let's say that you're starting to accrue this type of power, you're starting to accrue this type of influence, and then someone in deep state in the government comes and tells you, hey, I need this guy. No, we'll pay you if we get something on this guy because he's going to be working for us and we need to make sure we have a backup plan.
Yeah,
Do you
well,
think this guy
like
could have been like, hey, come party at I have a private island. We have boats and hoes, you know? And then they get there and they realize that it's like younger women.
yeah,
And then
or they
one
don't
thing leads to
really
another,
question
they're
it.
partying, right?
Yeah, I mean like when you go to like what was his name? Akon. Akon went to a club that was supposed to be 21 and over. He didn't question it, and then he had sex with an underage girl and went to prison.
Wait, what?
Yeah, dude, you didn't know that? That's why
No.
he talks about being convict. Yeah, dude. He thought that everyone in that club was supposed to be over 21, so he didn't question it. He went home with someone who was under 21.
And then they came out.
Yeah,
Shit.
yeah. So like, I mean, that could have happened. And thinking back on it, like, who was that one guy? Who the big guy in the movie industry? Find his name. He was here just a
Industry.
second
I
ago.
don't even remember that movie.
Yeah, Harvey Weinstein.
Oh,
Okay,
the film
imagine.
producer.
Yeah, imagine Jeffrey Epstein had stuff on these people, like you were just saying. Someone comes to him and says, "Hey, I need to get this person, uh, out of here, eliminated," and he then releases these women on them, like Harvey Weinstein raped me, but like these women are working for Jeffrey Epstein, and so they have all this stuff on them. You know what I'm saying?
Holy shit. But okay, what do you think Harvey Weinstein was gonna? What didn't he want to do? Because, but also it seems like it's different because these we're talking about younger girls, and Harvey Weinstein was like harassing people who he worked with, like actresses.
Mm-hmm. So, well, I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like I
No,
mean
it
Harvey
seems maybe.
Weinstein was on the list of going over there, right? You
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, dude, Harvey Weinstein was a pig, is a pig, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
shit he was doing in order to get, um, people in roles. I mean, that's for like another episode. But this guy already seems to have the same mindset. And so, what's a little flight to Little St. James gonna do for him, you know?
Yeah.
It's just part of the game. It's like it's a shit that he's into.
Yeah. And I mean, Epstein seemed to be a math person, so when he uses math to solve a big problem, he was probably looking at a way to get people in a mathematical way. So like he shares his secret with them, they share their secret with him, whatever it be, whether it be liking prostitutes or liking underage people, or like we saw those two pictures of Bill Clinton was in a dress, and then um, George Bush was like sitting in front of a table, almost like a little kid, like sucking on his thumb.
Uh huh.
Like there's people who enjoy things like that, like being treated like a little kid in a sexual way, or people liking to wear dresses and stuff like that. So maybe it was one of those things. He's trying to make them feel comfortable, but then he got them essentially.
What if it's like it was like a trophy for him?
Yeah.
Like, look, I got this guy here. I got him in my pocket, and it's a trophy for him, which means that like Bill Clinton could never do anything to him. Like in a sense, he felt as though he had something on them, and he was able. I mean, gosh, man, it. Just must be weird. It must be so weird. I mean, before this, were you at all aware of shit going down like this out in the world? Doesn't this seem like a fucking movie?
I mean, this was when we were growing up, dude. We were 16 years old when he went to jail for the first time,
Yeah.
which means he had done it for years before that. Which means we were probably like 12 when he was actually in the midst of committing all this.
But I mean, before this, like, was there something else that like resembled this? No, this is like one like how many other cases were out there like this? I think this is the
Yeah.
first one that involves like high profile celebrities, scientists, and government
You know,
officials. No.
it's not. There is I I don't remember it. I saw it somewhere. There's someone who did this, but it was many, many years ago, like far back in the past. And he kind of did the same concept. He got all the dirt on all of the important figures in life of that time.
Uh huh.
But like looking at this, like a lot of people that he like brought to the island, they did other things. So like Bill Clinton and Chris Tucker, they were going to Africa to start like an AIDS organization.
Uh huh.
So like that was why they were there. But like when you look into things like that, like a lot of that stuff is kind of interesting too, because it's almost like they want to do something good, but it's almost to hide the the bad thing that they're also doing.
Sure.
It's like
And
the
then
look over here don't look over here.
And also, it's a big tax, um not deferment.
Yeah.
They used it
Yeah.
for taxes,
Yep.
you know? Um yeah. I mean, that's insane. That's really insane.
And it's like right there. There were 4 people in the airplane who were famous. Is Bill Clinton, Kevin Spacey, Jeffrey Epstein, and sorry, I keep wanting to Chris Tucker.
That was to Africa?
They all 4 of them, yeah, they went to Africa for the AIDS organization. 4 or 3 out of the 4 of them have been in trouble for sexual activity.
Yeah, right?
Like looking at it, I could probably say Chris Tucker's done something,
Oh shit. Not Chris Tucker.
right? And like, did you see what was that show that uh Kevin Spacey was just in, where he was the president?
No, I didn't really know too much about him, to be honest. I know he was
Dude,
in a few movies, but
his character in that was so good, but the character was such an evil person.
uh-huh.
Almost like he was playing
Himself?
someone almost like he was playing someone he knew. Like it could have been something that Bill Clinton was doing. Because oh my god, it could have literally been Bill Clinton and Hillary
Why?
Clinton in
Why?
that
Why do you say
show.
that? What show is
Because
it?
House of Cards, that's the name.
House of Cards.
Yeah.
I
So
heard about
Kevin
it.
Spacey is the president of the United States. And his wife in that show is just as crazy as he is. And like he actually, spoiler alert, he ends up killing a reporter he was having sex with. He pushes her in front of a train. And he was the president. Like, I'm just like, it
What?
blows me away to even think about it, because like he's technically involved in this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. So like,
Uh-huh.
is that something that they could have done? Like, oh,
So hey, I have
and
an
that,
idea. You know, yeah, we should do a show like this. I mean, I know it inside out.
because I mean, if you think about it, like how I've always said, nothing changes. So like, how do you get a good new like a good new movie or a good new joke? Like, they're all kind of based off something that really happened. Like, I can't make fun of you unless you provide me something that I can make fun of. I can't come up with a new story unless I've seen something that gives me that first step into the new story.
But what about like comic books or
What
like
about it? Like, think about it. Spider-Man, right?
yeah?
Who knows? Maybe that he was sitting there thinking of a new superhero, and a spider crawled over him, and he got bitten, and he had to go to the doctor, and he's like, "Oh, there you go." Like, people don't just think up of new superheroes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I
there
mean,
are small truths behind all
sometimes
the superheroes.
right. I mean, it's always based on something maybe that they were going through at that time, right?
Yeah, or Saw, or like I need to come up with an idea. Like, the only thing to me that's like super interesting to think about, like we always say, oh, dinosaurs, right? We've
Mhm.
dug up these dinosaur bones, right? People, there's the debate on if dinosaurs are real or not.
Mhm.
But where do you get dragons? There's no dragon bones. Like, who just thinks of a dragon?
Well, so I may be I'm you might want to look it up. I might be wrong, but I think they're based on the Komodo dragons.
Yeah,
And they were
maybe.
based on um yeah, and then unicorns were based on narwhals. And then we have a bunch of like mythology where it came from animals. But I think that for sure the dragon came from the Komodo dragon, because back then they it wasn't fire, but it was poison. They have a poisonous saliva, so if they bite you, they will one poison you with, it's like venom almost, and it will actually start eating up your flesh like immediately. So yeah, that's I mean, but right. I mean, it's always based on something, right? Something that you might have seen. So it's always based on something you might have seen, or you had an idea of an experience you just had went through.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, that's definitely, that's pretty, it's pretty weird, man.
Yep.
So
Like,
who was Epstein's mentor? So Epstein
me.
owned the Herbert and Strauss house at the Upper East Side of Manhattan, New York City. It was originally purchased for $13.2 million in 1989 by Epstein's mentor Les Wexner. Les Wexner is he's an American billionaire, businessman, the founder and chairman of Emeritus of L Brands. What's L Brands? Formerly Limited Brands. In part, starting the limited clothing retail with restricted selection of profitable items, and later expanded its holdings to include Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie and
Yeah.
Fitch.
Yeah, because it was said that he was also going to the women within Victoria's Secret.
Whew. So, Jeffrey Epstein was like a consultant, right? You said
Yeah.
for Victoria's Secret. I mean, this couldn't get any crazier.
Right.
This is literally a movie. Like someone's fucking with us.
Or it's just this is
Like this shit. Can you believe it? Like this shit goes down just in the open, just in the U.S. This is something that goes down in the
right.
U.S. Can you
And
believe
like
that?
if you think about it, like there's no way that like all this stuff can happen just with
By
even two
luck.
people. Just two people. Like how is it that two people get this island? Enough money to get this island. How like there has to be more to it.
Yeah, he's not an Elon
Right?
Musk, right? He's not like he wasn't like building spaceships and changing the world with electric powered vehicles. You're a hedge
Mhm.
fund manager, essentially. But look, dude, you have friends like Lex Wexner. What the fuck?
And I'm actually really curious because the whole thing with Epstein with all the girls, it was all about massages. And why would it start as a massage? Like, there's got to be something there about this massage thing
Do you
because it
think that it
starts
was a
with a
way to?
massage and goes into sex.
But do you think it
But
was like to ease them in? I mean, it's fucked up when you think about it. But let's say that you just land in the island, and then I mean you're literally trying to escape this island. And see, I think that he was very charismatic to be able um to be able to basically have these girls believe him. You know, like, hey, you work with me, you're gonna be someone. That's basically the whole story I got from the Netflix documentary. Most of these
look,
girls were broken. They coming from broken homes. They were maybe already abused before encountering him, and so that's where Ghislaine Maxwell came into play. Right, she's the one that kind of facilitated and basically went out there and vetted girls. Right.
yeah. So I'm looking. There's a lot of court cases against him. Like there's Jane Doe versus Epstein estate, Caitlin Doe versus Epstein estate. So it's just a ton of people.
And it's always Epstein's estate. What is it? What do you? Why do you think that is?
It probably has something to do with the legal issue because he may. Isn't there something where you can almost essentially not be a person anymore?
Corporation.
Where yeah, essentially you become this
Like if they want to sue
non-exact.
you,
Yeah.
they have to sue the company, not you.
Yeah, because like at that point you don't actually own anything technically. So like to actually go for any like let's say he was worth 50 million. It wasn't really him who was worth it. It was the company. So everything that he did was sponsored by the company. So he just used that money. So if they were to go after him, he'd only have 50,000 to his name.
Right.
They'd get nothing.
Yeah. Well, it
So
says
like
here, and so Maxwell versus State. Maxwell filed a lawsuit on March 12, 2020. Whoa, that was recent. Against Epstein's estate, which claimed that she had been a longtime employee of Epstein, who had served to manage his property holdings in the U.S. Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, New York, New Mexico, Florida, and Paris, while continuing to deny any knowledge or involvement in his criminal activities. According to the lawsuit filed in Superior Court in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Maxwell was seeking damages for legal fees associating with defending herself against her accusers that she claims Epstein had promised to cover for her. What? Okay, you dated this guy, and then you come out and say that you had no involvement in his criminal activities.
yep.
Where is this lady?
You
She didn't get indicted, right?
separate.
She
No,
didn't get
she's not.
indicted.
Yeah, they don't know where she is. That's one of the
Holy
other things that's
shit!
crazy. Like she
It's
never got in trouble. There wasn't enough stuff going on to have served her with anything. So I guess there's some kind of weird loophole right now where it's like if you can't actually give her any documents to her face, you can't bring up any new like court matters. So because they can't find her, they also can't go after her. So she's
and
disappeared.
then I saw that her
She
lawyers were denying the lawsuit against her, and that they had
yeah.
no idea where she was. Right, dude. What if she became another disappearance? Didn't you see that they were like New York police officers, like chiefs and like police officers and government officials that just died in car crashes, in car accidents? Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I think a lot of people knew what he was doing, but I think he was smart and valuable enough to governments, to people who needed things to get done,
Mm-hmm.
that they overlooked it. And then when it came out, they couldn't overlook it. And when it became an issue for him, it was like we got to get rid of this.
Yeah,
So like they needed
perhaps.
him. They needed him, but when you couldn't hide it anymore without getting everyone in trouble,
Uh huh.
peace out. I think he's on an island with Maxwell somewhere. I don't know. I don't think he's dead.
Really?
Yeah, because if he's dead, then he definitely didn't kill himself. So whoever killed him, if he's
Okay.
not alive, they're
Well,
after her.
let's get into that. So when was it that they arrested him? Where
For
did I see it?
when? You mean like the
This
last time they arrested him
Yeah,
before he died?
July.
It was July. Yeah, and then he killed himself on the 10th of August. Also, something we got to talk about the first time he was imprisoned,
Uh huh.
Um, for 13 months, he had work release. Do you know what that was?
Where you get to leave prison and come back at a certain time,
Yeah, but his
saying that
work
you're.
release,
Uh huh.
his work release was 6 days a week for 12
What?
hours for 12 hours a day.
What?
Yeah, so essentially he would leave, he would go out and work, and then he'd go back and sleep. So there was only one day where he was in jail all day, which I mean I don't know what the day was, but let's say Sunday. He was in all day Sunday, and then the rest of the time
He's out.
he's out. Yeah,
Probably doing the same shit he was doing.
that's what apparently he like was dodging the police and stuff, and they actually have evidence that he wasn't where he was supposed to be,
Uh huh.
but nothing happened to him.
Fuck.
It's like, why would you get 12 hours of like work release? It's kind of crazy.
Okay. You ready to get deep into this? Did you
Go for it.
know that he was into eugenics and transhumanism?
No, I didn't. I haven't seen anything about that.
It says, according to various sources, Epstein, beginning in early 2000s, showed a strong interest in improving the human race through genetic engineering and artificial intelligence, including using his own sperm. He addressed the scientific community at various events, at occasions, and communicated his fascination with eugenics. And eugenics is basically is a where did I see that? Damn it! I lost my place. This thing's not loading. So the concept predates the term Plato, suggests applying the principle of selective breeding. So selective breeding in
Mm-hmm.
humans. So he used his own sperm in some cases, apparently. It was reported in August 2019 that Epstein had planned to seed the human race with his DNA by impregnating up to 20 women at a time using his New Mexico compound as a baby ranch, where mothers would give birth to his offspring. He was an advocate of cryonics, which is cryonics is a low temperature freezing and storage of a human corpse of severed head, with the speculative hope that resurrection may be possible in the future. What?
Jesus
So
Christ,
he was
dude!
an advocate for this, and his own idiosyncratic version of transhumanism. And if you don't know what transhumanism is, it's a philosophical movement that advocates for the transformation of the human condition by developing and making widely available sophisticated technologies to greatly enhance human intellect and physiology. So, in his own idiosyncratic versions of transhumanism, he had said that he intended to have his penis and head frozen. Epstein's penis was described as egg shaped by one of his victims. What?
That I've been confused about. Like, what does that mean?
I don't know. Maybe he had a weird looking dick, bro. I don't know.
But like,
And okay,
it's weird.
so let's go back into the origins of this. Do you think something
Okay.
happened to him at early in his life? Like who grows up, becomes extremely powerful and influential, and then you have so much power that people around you know that you're screwing little girls in a private island, and they're okay with that.
I mean, that's what I was saying about maybe it wasn't that they were okay with it, but they wanted his expertise or things like that.
Yeah. So I have some people
Oof.
from on our live chat dot connector. says pedo plan trust that where they put their assets in to avoid taxes and seizure. Epstein didn't kill himself and might not be dead, improving rather controlling. The elite pedos have baby farms to source their molestation and sacrifice victims. I mean, that's all possible.
But see, that's one thing. Like I've always heard about the sacrificing thing. Like, what is it about sacrificing that people are getting? What are they sacrificing? Like, I don't get the sacrificing. I understand molestation in a sense. You're getting some kind of pleasure out of it, but sacrificing, is it just for some kind of pleasure, or do they think they're getting something from that,
Well,
like some
when you
extra
say
power?
sacrifice, it's more of a religious term. So I don't know if you remember back in the day with the Aztecs, they would do live sacrifices on top of their pyramids because they
Yeah.
believed that if they offered it to God, they would receive food and wealth, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's the same concept, although, yeah, it could be something more satanic, I would say.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's get back to that. So it says scientists need funding for important work. Some people were trying to defend him. If the funding is for legitimate scientific work, there's nothing wrong with accepting support from a billionaire. However, it would have been wrong for scientists to accept his funding if they were aware that he was planning a eugenics experiment that might draw legitimacy from associate from their relation with him. George Church, a professor, also publicly apologized for meeting Epstein after his 13-month sentence, saying there should have been more conversations about should we be doing this? Should we be helping this guy? There was just a lot of nerd tunnel vision. Convenient. Or maybe you just took a little flight to Little St. James and, you know?
Yeah. This stuff's creepy.
I
It's
mean,
like,
so Greg, so let's go back. So why do you think a person like this would want so much power? And why do you want to impose this power on younger victims? It sounds like an abuse case. It sounds like maybe he was abused early in his early childhood.
I,
Um,
I think one of the other things too is it's easier to get away with it being younger victims. Like how he he was very smart mathematic wise.
yeah,
That maybe he put together the dots that like there's a higher chance that someone who's young isn't gonna say anything
and also
than someone
broken,
who's
right?
older.
And they were
Yeah,
broken, so he really picked his victims.
yeah. Where like I think some of the other cases out there is literally you just find a weaker person.
Yeah,
Where this may have been a little bit more calculated. Because I mean, when you do something like that, you got to know there's a point to when you're gonna get caught,
right.
and then it's about how can you hide it or deny it.
I mean, just the fact that this is actually something that we're talking about in 2020, as if this year couldn't get any worse, um,
That's one.
is really mind-boggling. Like I
Yeah,
can't believe that we're doing this podcast when we're researching this topic. Like it's just so bizarre to me that
yeah.
somebody would have been this power hungry.
Like looking at it too about being power hungry or being that wealthy. Like, is it a blessing in a sense? Like, are we more blessed having less than having more? You know what I mean? Like,
Like
I have
more
food on
money,
my
more
table.
problems.
Yeah, I have food on my table. I have a son who I get to hang out with, and like I don't have to I don't have to think of this crazy stuff. Like I don't have to worry about running into someone like this. Like someone approaches me that I don't want to talk to, I just don't talk to them. But like if you get put into a circle like this, like it almost seems like there's no way out, you know? So are we more blessed having less exposure to things?
Well, that's a perception. That's your perception, I think. Yeah, I mean, in a sense, right? Ignorance is bliss. You could say that. But Greg, let's say that I don't know, you work a restaurant under the table, and you do it for many years. A lot of people get sick, but you have enough money to pay off the journalists, the local journalists, to not say anything.
Hmm.
You just do it for years, and then you are able to send your son to college so that he can have a better education than you did. Like, do you think that that's something you would do? Have you ever considered it? Like, going to college, man. We're talking about $100,000
Yeah.
for a degree nowadays. And when you get out of the college, sometimes you don't even get the jobs that you set out to college for, in the
Yep.
first place. So, yeah, would that be something that you would do? I mean, you see a lot of celebrities got in trouble for paying off UCLA, was it? Or USC?
Yeah. USC, I think.
USC. They paid off a lot of money to they basically bribed in order to get their kids in, just so that they could do or get a college degree that they didn't actually work for. Basically, it was just a status. They were buying status. So, yeah, what do you think, Greg? Would you do something a little shady, to make a little money, to have your own island?
Nah.
I mean,
There's been
people
plenty of
define being blessed
circumstances like
differently.
there's plenty of circumstances where things have happened in my life where it was like it to me it was like the weirdest thing. Like why would someone offer to do something? Like even when I was younger, I worked in at this one place and they they asked me if I wanted a drink and I was like I'm 15 or I was 16.
Uh
They're like,
huh.
"Ah, it's fine. It's fine." And like to me that's so weird. It's like why are you offering when you like know not to do it? And like no one seemed to
There's
care and everyone's just like, "Yeah, it's fine."
there's this thing, man. It's like an initiation. When you join a group of some sort, even your friends, like you would get picked on for a while. I mean, even with us in high school, oh, el güero, we played
Yeah.
handball. Like, hey, what's up, güero? Like, we didn't pick on you like to be mean, but it was like your initiation. No,
Well, it was a title because obviously I was the only white person there.
yeah, but I mean, I'm
Like
saying,
I
like,
didn't
we
even find that
didn't.
as a racist kind of thing. Where like nowadays, like you saying that, I guarantee you someone would say that that was racist.
Well, it was the intent, not the context, fuckers.
But no, see, like that's the thing is it's
But what
so
I'm saying
stupid.
is, like, people do that. Like, maybe they were just being nice. Like, hey, you know, you're okay. If you want to have a little beer, we're not gonna say anything. Like, it's like I don't know if your dad ever had friends over, or if you ever saw your dad hang out with his friends, and one day, I mean, for the most part of your childhood, you're too young to be hanging out with the adults. But then comes a time in your teens when your dad finally says, "You know what, Greg, come hang out," and then he's like, "You know what, have this beer." Like, that's, in a sense, it's the same as initiation as the people were trying to give you. in a sense. It's like you're being accepted in this group,
Hmm.
and they were telling you that by offering you a beer and saying it's okay. It's not like, oh, it's malintent. I mean, it's illegal to give alcohol to any minor, right?
Yeah.
But it was more of a, it's okay. Like, if you want a beer, we won't tell. It's cool. So it
Yeah,
was
but
like
see,
their
that's what I'm
intent
saying.
was
That that's what Epstein did.
okay. Connect that.
Where the
I'm listening.
so so Epstein liked had these girls.
I think you cut out. I can't hear you.
Hello?
Okay, there you go. Sorry, I missed the other part.
Oh, it was the come and have one of these girls in that circumstance. And now they did because it was like, oh, okay, it's fine to do because he's doing it. Now he's got you.
Yeah.
It's all about gotcha now.
Look, Dot Connector, who's on our live chat, said it's more about who you know than what you know when it comes to desirable jobs and business success. Do you agree with that, Greg?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with that because when it comes down to it too, it sometimes they'll take a candidate who's less experienced if they seem to be willing to put more into it because
Yeah.
you never know what a final outcome's going to be.
Or
Like
they were
just
gonna,
because,
yeah, they were gonna favor you or your whatever,
yeah,
and they were gonna kiss your ass,
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I think
true.
most government jobs are. It's like if if you get in and you become a hiring person, you're hiring your friends and your family. Like government jobs are too good pay wise.
Yeah.
So like if you could hire your family or your friends, would you do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's
I
definitely
mean,
true.
there are circumstances where there's something where you have to hire someone who knows what they're talking about. Where like you're not just gonna hire one of your family members to drive a big rig then they've never driven a car before. Like
Yeah.
giving just a small
Yeah. Well,
explanation.
it's true. It's true that you definitely want to bring your circle up with you. So, okay, so we've established that. Okay, so what do you think, Greg? Do you think this guy was fucked up in early childhood to want this much, or do you think it's something that he grew into?
You know, this is something too that I've thought about. Maybe at a certain age, he didn't grow up in a sense. You know how he skipped 2 grades?
Yeah.
Maybe like what happened during something like that, where he skipped 2 ages, he lost sight of like how old he is.
Are you talking
Like,
about like Michael Jackson? Like because he didn't have
sure,
a he didn't have like a childhood in a sense because he was always working and his dad was so strict on him to always practice. He never had time to develop a childhood,
yeah,
to have a normal childhood. So it came out in the later years, right?
yeah. Like some people will say about me, like they call me like an old man because like I I didn't have the party stage in my life. I wasn't out there having sex with any girl that I looked at. Like I didn't I didn't do that, and I was more like kind of like get it together to people and like talking about RVs and things like that. So like
RVs.
almost like my
You're
brain
killing me, Greg.
was moved to a different age kind of thing.
Do you think that you needed to grow up fast growing up?
No, I don't think so. I think I got too used to having like brain dead times because like I didn't like school, so I didn't pay attention, I didn't listen, I just sat there. So I got used to wasting time, and that's something that I do quite often.
Huh.
So
Hashtag growth. Look, man, I've realized talking about personal experience, when you have a sort of traumatic, depending, there's a spectrum, right? So it could be really traumatic or not so traumatic, but you have trauma in early ages,
mhm,
you basically, it makes an imprint in your psyche. So throughout your life, you're reacting or you're acting in a way that was cultivated in your childhood. So what I'm saying is this guy could have very well maybe had to give someone a massage, and it was just like, type of power that he seek, that's what got him off. It's something that it got him off because now he was the one in charge. He was the powerful one. You see what I mean?
yeah,
And so maybe that was his way to do it. But then there's also this island where a lot of people visited, and we already know that the girls were there. So now it's a question of like, did he bring them into his expertise and like in and pervert them that way, or he brought them to have something on them, or what? You know,
yeah.
before the island was raided, I think the cameras or the DVRs were, I think it was like the DVRs were taken out, right?
Yeah.
So somebody didn't want the videos to be shared. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
So
And so then he goes to prison. What was it? July, Greg? Do you have the date?
when he went to prison
Yeah, just what was it? August
before he got
or
killed,
July, right?
no, in July, yeah. July 6th, it was the date he was apprehended.
So July 6th. So he's there for about a month in prison. He's a high profile celebrity. He's in a, was it a maximum prison? Do you know? It was like a
Uh,
maximum security prison. And it, I mean, I can't even read this, bro. I can't even read this. It says on July 23rd, 2019, 3 weeks prior to his death, Epstein was found unconscious in his jail cell with injuries to his neck. Epstein believed that he was attacked by his cellmate, who was awaiting trial for 4 counts of murder, while the correctional staff suspected attempted suicide. What? After that incident, he was placed on suicide watch. 6 days later, on suicide watch, on July 29th, Epstein was taken off suicide watch and placed in special housing unit with another inmate. Epstein's close associates said he was in good spirits. When Epstein was placed in the special housing unit, the jail informed the Justice Department that he would not have a cellmate, and the guard would look into the cell every 30 minutes. These procedures were not followed on that night of his death. So, what about the other nights? So that's something worth checking out. Like, what happened? Were there logs? Did they disclose those logs or what? The 2 guards who were assigned to check his jail unit that night fell asleep and did not check on him for about 3 hours. The guards falsified related records. 2 cameras in front of Epstein's cell also malfunctioned that night. Okay. If this doesn't sound like a
I'm
fucking movie,
yeah. I know
what?
I saw something else. I don't remember exactly where it was, but someone said that there were people who were in the prison who said that they were hearing screaming, as in like, "Don't kill me, don't kill me. I don't want to die." And these are like inmates saying it, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think
And
that he
then
was gonna talk?
yeah, they already said he was gonna talk.
Holy
He was gonna make
fuck!
a he. They said he was gonna make a deal, which means he has to have some kind of information.
Do you know of those guards? Like, what happened to those guards?
They were arrested, but I haven't looked into anything after that.
I mean, come on! And then they found him hanging by how many? How many? What was it? Towels? What was it?
It was a bunch of jumpsuits.
Oh,
Like,
jumpsuits.
where does he have all those from? I think they said is that there was blood, and so they used the jumpsuits to try to like stop the bleeding, even though he hung himself. I don't know.
Okay, so this is where it says Epstein was found dead in his cell. Um, in New York at 6:30 a.m., the Bureau of Prisons said life-saving measures were initiated immediately upon the discovery of Epstein's body. Emergency responders were called, and he was taken into hospital. The U.S. Attorney General William Barr called the death an apparent suicide. So the son of the guy who gave him his teaching job, was it right?
The
Let me go
teaching job.
back. Yeah, I have to go back. I have to go
There
back
was
to.
there's supposed to be 75 mandatory checks on Jeffrey Epstein that night. Not a single one was done. How do you go from knowing that you have to check on someone 75 times to just not doing it at all?
Yeah.
Like I could understand maybe half. Maybe they only did 50% of that 75. But just to ignore all of them altogether,
Mm-hmm.
like come on.
So look, it says that yeah, he was hired by Donald Barr, father of U.S. Attorney General Barr. So the guy, so the son, um, I mean, dude, you cannot make this up. So yeah, the son, the U.S. Attorney General William Barr called the death an apparent suicide. Although no final determination had been made, the circumstances leading up to his death are being investigated by the Justice Department. Where are we with that anyway? Seems like we forgot about that.
I don't
The
know.
autopsy. On August 11th, an autopsy was performed. The preliminary results of the autopsy found that Epstein sustained multiple breaks in his neck bones. Among the bones broken in Epstein's neck was the hyoid bone, which is like the uh, it's a horseshoe-shaped bone situated in the interior midline of the neck, between the chin and the thyroid. Okay. Such breaks of the hyoid bone can occur from those who hang themselves, but they are more common in victims of homicide and strangulation. In 2010,
Wait,
what?
I just read that the two guards were 15 feet away from from the housing unit, not necessarily exactly where he was.
Oh, so
So I
from
was gonna
like,
say 15 feet away and you can't hear someone hanging themselves. Like when did you hear something? I mean, that's not a
um,
silent death.
but also like, how did you like? I don't. Do we have pictures of the cell?
You have pictures of the cell inside uh
Was there a
like the
stool?
aftermath.
Like,
Yeah, it
was there a stool? Was there a chair? What? Or did he do it like?
no, so it was like a bunk bed and he took the sheet and tied it on the top post of the bunk bed and apparently hung himself. So essentially what happened is he had to want to die. Like he had to want to die so badly because at any moment of him hanging, he could have just stood up. And
Yeah.
and they say that most people who try to kill themselves, there's a point to where they like want to turn back, but there's just no way of doing it.
Hmm. It's weird. So it says in 2010 study found broken hyoids in 1/4 of cases of hangings, and large just a study conducted from 2010 to 2016 found higher damage in just 16 of 264 cases, or 6% of cases of hangings. 6%. So 16 in 264. Hyoid bone breaks are more common in older individuals as the bones become more brittle upon reaching middle age. Forensic pathologist Cyril Wrench noted that hanging by leaning forward would not result in broken cervical bones. Who was Barbara Sampson? A New York City medical examiner ruled Epstein's death a suicide by hanging. The medical examiner, according to Epstein's defense counsel, only saw 9 minutes of footage from one security camera to help her arrive at her conclusion. Epstein's defense lawyer were not satisfied with the conclusion of the medical examiner and were conducting their own independent investigation into the cause of the Epstein's death, including taking legal action if necessary to view the pivotal camera footage near his cell during the night of his death. Epstein's lawyer said that the evidence concerning Epstein's death was far more consistent with murder than suicide. Michael Baden, an independent pathologist hired by Epstein's state, observed an autopsy in October 2019. So this is like a month later. Dr. Baden said that Mr. Epstein, 66, experienced a number of injuries, among them a broken bone in his neck, that are extremely unusual in suicidal hangings and could occur much more commonly in homicidal strangulation. I think that the evidence points to homicide rather than suicide. Wow.
Yeah. Did you see the picture of it?
No. What did you type?
What was it? You can literally just type in Jeffrey Epstein cell. It's no taller. It's like a short bunk bed. Like if you went to IKEA and you got like a kid's bunk bed where like they have a play area under and then their bed's on top, it's literally like that.
Holy shit! They actually took pictures of
and look at all
these jumpsuits.
Yeah.
What?
Those might be blankets, but like it just like how do you hang yourself off that? Like you literally would have to tie it up above you and lean forward while having your legs on the bed. So like and not have fallen to the sides. Like when he passed out and he like fell down, he would probably put enough weight on himself to unchoke himself.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This doesn't make any sense. The pictures that were, literally, if you type in Jeffrey Epstein cell, there's a lot of pictures of the cell, and the bunk bed is indeed short in height. What do you think? That's like 8 feet? Like the top bunk?
Yeah.
I mean,
actually, there's a tape measure. It's like about 40 inches.
40 inches?
Yeah, there's a tape measure. There's a picture with a tape measure next to it.
That's like 3.5 feet.
Yeah, it might be 4 feet.
Wait, the top bunk?
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, dude.
Wait, you saw? Where's that tape measure? I didn't see that. No, there's no way.
Oh,
that's
no.
feet.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm looking at this wrong because it doesn't show the top. So it's probably about 6 feet at the most.
6 to 8 feet. It looks to me like 6 to 8. Yeah, there's something fishy here.
How tall was he? How tall was he?
How tall was he? Let's see. I wonder if Wikipedia says that. Let's see. How tall was Jeffrey Epstein? Huh. Doesn't say.
Why do you think? I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of weird, because you
If you
know,
take it on average, he's probably about 5'8".
R.I.P. to Robin Williams. Um,
What?
Robin Williams, he hung himself from his door with a belt. So I mean, I guess it's possible, but to receive a broken bone, okay, that's a little. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. I don't think
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense.
And the
So,
broken bone was in the cheek, right?
in between the chin and the it's basically your throat.
Yeah. So if you look at there's a picture where you can actually see his throat, like where the bruising is. It's on like the lower neck. So how do you go from the lower neck to break something in the jaw?
Where did you see that?
Was just clicking on pictures. It shows him on like a stretcher.
Oh,
Do you
do
see it?
you? I don't see the bruise. I mean, on his cheek.
No, I can't find it now. I
I
was
mean, I
just
see a
clicking and it showed
picture.
it.
Is it like he's upside down almost?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the picture, but I don't see the. I mean, that's definitely him. I think. I mean, nowadays you could fool me with anything. I think. Oh, so
People
Doc
are trying
Connector
to.
from YouTube said Epstein was 6 foot.
Yeah, so 6 foot. So if that thing was 6 foot, that means anything he did, his feet could touch ground.
My question is, who the fuck leaves so many jumpsuits in the cell? If you're on
Blankets, right?
suicide watch, what?
Right? Right? And people took the picture of him being on the stretcher and getting pushed out, and they look at the person who's on the stretcher. They look at his nose and they look at his ears, and the nose and the ears don't match Jeffrey Epstein.
Wait, what?
Jeffrey Epstein's nose is triangle-ish, and
Mm-hmm.
the stretcher, his nose is rounded, and then like the ear cavities, they don't match, like the way the ear looks.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I
That's one
mean,
of the things I thought about him, was that he may have used lookalikes for these powerful people, and lookalikes may have been forced to have sex with these people to then Epstein can use these photos against these powerful people. And
uh, I
that's
don't
where it
think
got
so. I
started.
think, I think that's a reach. I
Yeah.
think that it's more plausible that they were they were just sick. I mean, when you're powerful, you think you can get away with anything, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
I mean, everything
So,
is speculation. Like, we're going off of like believing things that could be not even true, you know?
yeah. Oh, I do see the picture of him. Holy shit. So,
It's
if you
crazy.
on Snopes.com, if you go news / 2019 /08 / 13 / Jeffrey Epstein body doubles / it says conspiracy Jeffrey Epstein body doubles photo explained. So if you comparing a 15-year-old photo and a photo of a corpse may not be the best foundation for conspiracy theory, but you can see that the ear canals are different and his eyebrow seems a little different and his nose is definitely rounder than
Yeah.
when from uh, I don't see none of the like the wrinkles like the crow's eye.
Uh-huh.
I mean I don't I don't know if I've
It's
ever really
crazy.
seen a lot of dead bodies, so I don't know if they go away once you die.
Maybe.
Um,
One of the interesting things
that I heard in the documentary, the I think it was two of the victims talked about it at the end about how he killed himself, and that they were actually upset that he was dead because they wanted him to face justice. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought back on that and I was like, okay, that makes sense. But at the same time, like, wouldn't they feel safe that he's gone?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that be like
Well, the
I
problem with that is that it's not. It wasn't just Jeffrey Epstein. They mentioned a lot of
other
names,
people? Hmm.
and wouldn't they be scared of coming out if there's a bunch of other people? If this was a group, I mean, for the record, you know, my name is Marco. Today is June 10th, and I am not in any way feeling any suicidal thoughts. Greg, I hope you feel the
I,
same.
I, I do feel the same. I've never felt that once in my entire life.
We can't wait to be 90 years old. So,
I know I
um,
need an RV still.
dude, this
But
was fun, man. I mean, this one I have to rule that Epstein did not kill himself.
yeah. There's one last thing I want to talk about here. And
Okay.
this is the one thing that I found super interesting that it technically has to do with this, but it's also kind of a side thing.
Okay.
I I looked up the whole little St. James Island, and I guess you can go and like I don't know if it's necessarily renting his place out or just renting a place on that island, but
Wait, are you saying that you can Airbnb his fucking island right now?
I guess. I don't know if I'm on some like spoof website or something, but like looking at it, it looks like it was made in the 90s. And like there's this boating company that like does like they'll pick you up and take you to whatever islands and you just pay by the day.
Uh huh.
And their website is very nice. Like it looks like they actually paid someone to make a website. But the website to rent um okay, so for two people to rent it, it's $3,000 a day. If you bring 8 people, it's $6,000 per day.
Hmm.
And the website just looks like a 1990s website with like multicolored writing, one solid background of the ocean. Like it's so terribly done for something that would cost so much. $3,000 per night and you don't have a professional website? That's weird.
It's a little sketch.
Yeah,
So look,
especially if it was something like this where people would probably actually want to go there in a sense of like influencers would probably want to go and do something like that. Like they're going to Chernobyl.
I still
You know
can't
what I
believe
mean?
that shit, bro. These
It's
guys.
crazy.
Oh, the fuck radiation. Fucking idiots.
Yeah.
So look, bro. I went back to Ghislaine Maxwell,
Yeah.
and it says following her personal and professional involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, Maxwell was romantically linked for several years to Ted White. I don't know how you say it. Founder of Gateway Computers.
What?
Remember Gateway?
That was the first computer we got.
Yeah.
Dude, she's
Remember
got all of our information.
Maxwell helped obtain and renovate a luxury yacht, the Plan B, and used it for travel to France and Croatia.
Just think about it, right?
The Plan
Like,
B. I mean, you can't fucking write this up. They're telling
yeah.
you how she would get away. The Plan B. What?
They also, dude, if you think about it, Jeffrey Epstein went around to powerful people and got all their information and dirty secrets. What do you think all these companies have done? Facebook. I mean, my laptop, we're being webcammed right now. Anything that's on your computer, I'm sure people have looked up. Anything you've ever said with your cell phone in your pocket could have been saved. Like, the same thing's already there. Like,
You know what the
when
antidote
you
to that is?
become,
To just
there is,
to just say it. To be out.
yeah.
That's it.
But I mean, you do one sketchy thing in your life, and boom,
Well,
gotcha.
so far I haven't done any sketchy things, so
Like, I
let's,
feel like I need.
you
I
need to
feel-
go and throw your computer in the fire. That's what you need to do.
Nah, but see, if you do anything sketchy like that, though, it's too late. Like, the information's already gone out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never done anything like that, but like, it's weird to know that someone would know something about you that you think only you know. So like, let's say you like some weird kind of porn or something. Like, you prefer watching porn if they were on a stack of hay or something.
What?
You know, like, I'm just giving a
What
weird
is that?
example.
Farmers only porn?
Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's weird that someone would know that about you and could try to use something like that against you. But then when you know there's things like that that aren't that important, then no
Yeah.
one's got anything on you.
Greg, random thought. Do you think the Amish have porn?
No, they don't have electricity.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you think
Oh, like they've gone out and bought like
what do you think
magazines
their
and they
porn
hide it.
are? I
No,
mean,
I don't think so. I think that they're kind of past that. Like, they don't care. I think they're almost kind of like me.
okay.
It's not as
Do you think that you would be a good Amish person?
based off of now, no. But I think I could have been. Yeah.
Okay, so before we end the podcast, I wanted to talk to you about. Do you need me to share the screen? It's a painting. I think you have a little bit more of the context on that, right, Greg?
Not really. Like, it was one of the victims. Let me look it up.
Here, I can share this with you. Or you got it.
I just Googled it right now. I'm sure it'll pop up.
Maria Farmer art? I think that's the one.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, so one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims, she got into painting, and one of her things was she was actually wanting to paint all of the victims that came out. She was painting like a picture of them, but then she also did another painting that has to do with all of her experience with Jeffrey Epstein. So she'll put pictures of people on there.
So you have Jeffrey Epstein in a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I can see Bill Clinton on the TV.
Yeah.
Next to Bill Clinton, there's a lizard school bus that says FBI school bus with someone's face. I don't know who that person is.
It's a girl with antlers. Yeah.
Greg, Greg, are you aware of these antlers? Whoa, holy shit. Okay. In the same picture, go all the way to the right, and you see like a bull type person who looks like Hillary Clinton. Do you see that?
I see what you're talking about, and she's pooping on like an artist paint holder.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, there's so much in this. It's crazy.
Let me see if I can share this. Can you share? I wanted people to see it. I'm gonna put the link on the description, guys, so you guys can check it out, and then maybe I'll put it up on our Instagram. If you guys can follow us, it's at TPP is loading. So that's TPP is loading. And that way you guys can see this painting. It's so bizarre. You have Ghislaine Maxwell in the center of the picture, She seems to be a dinosaur in an egg
It's
who's
almost
vomiting.
since she's in the center, it's almost like she's the center of all of this.
Like, yeah, huh?
Yeah. And you know what? If you look to the top left, you
Don't tell me.
kind of see a
Don't
person
tell me.
that looks like the moon.
Don't
Who
tell
does
me.
that look like, dude?
Don't tell me, bro.
That looks like Elon Musk.
Don't tell me, bro. Don't do this to me, man. Don't do this to me. And then you have this weird black octopus with the brain. What the fuck? There's a door on the very left of this place called the Hand Tower. The door has the number of the beast on it.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Holy shit. Dude, the more I look at it, the weirder it gets. I mean, everywhere
Right?
you see FBI, NSA.
Look
Do
at
you
the
see
tree.
So next to that tree, Greg, there's a bin with eyeballs. It says NSA.
Oof! Look at the tree. Look what's sitting on top of it.
The owl, right? What did I fucking tell you, Greg? The last podcast we had about fear and well, and what else? Like we were discussing like scary stories and shit that happened to me early on in my childhood. We talked a little bit about how owls are a big part of witchcraft. And in Mexico, we call them lechuzas. It's this is really bizarre. I mean, even at the bottom of the tree, the roots, you see CNN, you see a bunch of political faces. You said that his mentor was what sun?
Just look at the sun. Look at the middle of the sun.
What does that look like? An eye?
An eyeball looking down at everything. Holy
shit! I mean, this is so bizarre.
We are seeing the chat, guys. I mean, if you want advice on how to podcast, just start it. Just record. Just hit go live and talk about a subject.
Subscribe, and you can see the evolution of this podcast. You know, we've only been doing this for about a year. Today's episode, this is our 48th episode, but we're making it into every now and then we're going to be doing rabbit holes where we go and look at things live so that you guys we can interact with you guys. We can see we need some help. You know, there's so much information revolving most of these conspiracy theories that it would be good if we had some help. For instance, like right now, the dot connector, he said that the owl represents Moloch to the elite. So I think Moloch is actually the same god that was found in Bohemian Grove, which is where Alex Jones went in and went undercover and realized that these elitists were performing sacrifices to this god. And so, I mean, this is fucking twisted, man. This is so twisted. Yeah, definitely want to revisit this conspiracy in the future. Maybe once we continue to do a little bit more research. It would help a lot.
I need to go to church too.
I need to go repent after, looking at this case, man. It's just so bizarre. So bizarre. Anyway, I think we're gonna wrap it up, guys. If you guys like this live stream, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell us, give us some feedback. We're new at this. We're trying to learn. Maybe subscribe. We're gonna definitely be getting some interesting guests in the coming weeks and months, and we're also going to be diving into different rabbit holes to see where they take us. Yeah, this is,
This is the first time we did this type of episode where where we did a rabbit hole where we started researching as we were going through it. We did a little bit of research ahead of time, but like when we just started talking about the painting, we didn't really look at the painting much beforehand.
Right.
So it's things like that that it's just we want to learn more about a specific subject, and we just start researching it while we do it live.
And thank you guys to Dot Connector and the Flying Whilst Falling for tuning in. You guys had some interesting points. Yeah, and if you want some podcast advice, send us a message. You can find us on virtually everywhere on social media. You can download this podcast everywhere, including Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, everywhere where podcasts are heard. Again, if you guys like this episode and would like for us to continue doing these rabbit holes, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you guys can be notified when we go live. And we're going to close it out with an excerpt of The Heart of a Buddha, hopefully to get peace after this episode, because goddamn, dude, I definitely need that. All right, thanks, Greg. Let me do this and then I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Yep.
So develop the quiet, even state of mind. When praised by some and condemned by others, free the mind from hate and pride and gently go your way in peace. And with that, thank you again, guys. Have a good night. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, guys.